God has laid something in your heart to write a book, to push out some content, and do some things that you ordinarily wouldn't want to go into, I'm challenging you to embrace God's call for your life. I'm challenging you to do what God has called you to do. Because at the end of the day, it will just be you and God and no man. Hey there, welcome back to Thrive with Lanike. My name is Lanike the Flourishing, and I'm super excited to have you back on my podcast episode today. And if you're watching today's episode and you've watched the previous episodes I've released on my podcast series, you're going to notice a little bit of difference, which I'm going to give context to along the line. So just sit back and enjoy. I have an announcement to make somewhere in between the video and I'm kind of excited about it, but at the same time I'm a bit skeptical about it. But then just wait for the announcement. So if this is your first time here, thank you for joining the family. I'm super excited to have you. And if you have been a part of my journey on this YouTube channel where I share my podcast and other things about me, thank you for staying true. Thank you for coming along with me. Thank you for riding along with me on this journey. I'm really grateful and excited for our journey as we thrive on in life. Whew. So today's episode is going to be different, like I said, because this is the first time I'll be recording my podcast series without scripting, and that's because I've decided to speak from my heart, like to be spontaneous about it and not to be too cautious and too organized that I end up leaving out the important things that I would really love to say or express on this podcast series. So after I released my last episode, which is the second episode, I felt like God was telling me that this is not it yet. And I was like, God, what do you want from me? Like, yeah, you asked me to start this YouTube channel and you asked me to start this podcast series, but what else do you want from me? I've started already. So what else is it that you want from me? And the Holy Spirit started taking me back to some of the reasons why I had to start this podcast in the first place, where I felt like God was leading me to express quite a number of things, to talk about a few things, to share some thoughts, to share my journey. Okay. So, and while I was trying to search my spirit for, what is it that you want? What is it that you want from me? Like, sometimes I just feel like God is asking for too much from me. But then God has given me so much, and I know that He alone has the right to actually demand so much from me. And come to think of it, some of the things He's asking of me or from me are not for Him. They are to help me and help other people like me. And so I just feel like it's okay. So while I was doing the soul searching and all of that, God took me back to all of those things, all the thoughts that we shared, because myself and God, we just on a level, like on a friendship level. You know how a friend is with a friend? Sometimes that's how I get to interact with God. And when I'm saying all of those things, He's always saying that, okay, just write it down, record it and all of that, and one day you're going to be able to express them. And right now I feel like the time has finally come, because after my last episode, which is the second episode, by the way, this is the third episode on the podcast series, and after the previous episode, I just knew that God was asking for more from me. And even though to an extent, I'm still not very comfortable with some of the things God is asking of me as far as the podcast is concerned and as far as the new phase of my life is concerned. I just feel like it's time to actually embrace whatever it is that God is calling me into. This is a bit emotional for me, really, because I'm going to be sharing a lot about myself, my journey, things that I would rather keep to myself or just keep to myself and my close circle. But I feel like God is saying there is a purpose in my story, there is a purpose in my journey, and He would like to use my story and my journey to actually help others. You know, all of this started about 15 years ago when I felt like God was telling me, you're going to get to a point where you're going to write things, write articles, talk about relationship, talk about marriage, talk about business, ministry, and all of that. And at that particular time in my life, I felt really scared because I just felt like, why are you asking all of this from me? Like, I just want to be a regular girl. Like, I just want to be like every other person who is just all about growing up, going to school, graduating, probably get married, have kids, get a job, and all of that. And to me, that's like the regular life, because I just feel like, okay, it's okay to just graduate, get married, or graduate, get a job first, get married, have kids, and just build a family. Which thinking about it right now, or looking at it right now, I realized that God has actually called some people into that kind of life. And the fact that He has called them into the life of just being a mother, or just being a father, or just being a business owner does not mean they are called into a regular life. Like, there's really no regular life for anyone who is in Christ, because in everything that we do, in every phase that we find, every phase of our lives, there's always a purpose to it. Like, God is always using us to fulfill purpose in any field that we find ourselves. So regardless if you're a business person, you are a married woman who feels like God is calling you to just be a stay-at-home mom, there's nothing regular about it. But that was my perception while I was growing up, thinking that I just wanted to be a regular person that is not into ministry, that is not living a restricted life, so to say. And all of those times were really emotional for me. But at some point, I just thought, no, I'm not ready for this. This is not the kind of life I want for myself. This is not the kind of life I envision for myself. And so for a while, I was in and out. I'll do something that I was meant to do today, and tomorrow I'll back out. Next tomorrow I'll try again. And I've been very inconsistent. And I believe that the reason I've been in and out is because deep down, I know that there is a deeper calling for me, right? I know that God is calling me into something more than I wanted to go into. And each time I go back and I'm saying, oh God, this phase that I'm in, I'm done. I feel like I'm done. I feel like I'm tired. I feel like God is always taking me back to all of those things that He has called me into. And by the way, I lost my mom while I was 13 years. And after I lost my mom, I think at the remembrance service, my mom used to be a singer, a gospel singer. And after I lost my mom, because I took after her in singing, like, yeah, I was good at singing, or rather, I'm good at singing. At our remembrance service, a host of ministers, I'm saying a host of ministers because if we were to count, I think we'll have over 20 ministers of God laying hands on me and commissioning me into ministry. And that time, I didn't really understand what all it meant to lay hands on or to impact someone. But I just think that at that time, people were teasing me. My uncles, my aunties were teasing me and calling me lady evangelist and all of that. But as a teenager, I just wanted to be like my regular friends, because all of those just meant that I couldn't live a free life. I couldn't act like my friends would normally act. I couldn't, just be free. You know how teenagers want their freedom, right? But that day, I believe that a seed was sown. A seed was sown that I have tried so hard to suppress. But right now, I've come to a point where I'm just admitting that I'm done running. Like, I'm done running away from God's call. I'm done running away from my purpose, what God has called me to do. I'm done running So I feel like I'm done running from what God wants me to go into and all of that. Because each time I go back to God and I'm saying, God, I think I'm tired of this phase that I'm in. I think I'm done. I think I'm asking what next. God's always taking me back. And at this point, I just feel like a child who failed a course. You know that when you fail a course in school, you have to keep retaking it until you eventually pass it for you to move to the next level. And right now, I feel like I have failed several times. Or on that note, I failed several times. And really, I feel like I need to move forward. I need to move to the next phase. And that's why I've decided to do this. Okay? So, I know it's not going to make sense to a lot of people, because really, to me, at times, it doesn't even make sense. So, in case you're watching any of my podcast series at any point in time, and you see me sharing deep things about me, and you see me sharing personal things about myself, before you reach out to me and ask me not to do that, just know that I have tried on several accounts to talk myself out of it. But at this stage of my life, I just feel like, for how long do I want to keep running? Like, time waits for no one, right? And I'm not getting any younger. So in case you're just watching it and you feel like, oh, why is she sharing so much about herself? Why is she saying so much about our journey? Why is she sharing all these personal things and all these things that brings out our vulnerability? I just want you to know that it's just what I'm meant to do. It's just what I am called to do right now, which is not actually comfortable for me. It's really not convenient for me. But I know that there is a life after here, right? And I don't want to end up looking back and feeling like I wish I had done all of those things. So this is me saying, I'm done running. I'm done running away from God's calling over my life. I'm done running from the life God has called me into. And I'm embracing that life. I'm going to embrace it because I have come to a point in my life where I trust God so much that I know that He has the best in plan for me. The Bible says that the plans that I have towards you are plans of good and not of evil. So I know that the plans God has for me are plans of good. And right now I feel like Jonah. I feel like Jonah that God sent to the people of Nineveh, and just because he felt like the people didn't deserve the salvation God wanted to give to them, he felt like no, there's no how he was going to deliver that kind of message to those people because he was scared and all of that. I believe that a lot of us know the story of Jonah. He chose not to go, and he ended up in the belly of a fish. And right now I feel like I've been in the belly of the fish for a while, and now I've decided to deliver God's message regardless of the consequences. And by consequences I mean regardless of the critics, regardless of whether I get acceptance for it or not, regardless of how comfortable it makes me feel. I have decided to deliver the message, to do the work, to do what God has called me to, what God has called me into. So this is me declaring openly. This is me declaring publicly that I'm embracing that call. It has not been easy for me. I've tried so hard to wave it off, but now I'm embracing it. And I trust that God will do whatever He wants to do with all of this. I trust that God is going to do what He wants to do with me, through me, and by me. And I know that all things will eventually work together for my good. So if you're watching this is not I don't want you to pity me, right? I don't want you to feel bad for me. I don't want you to feel like what the heck is she talking about? But I know that they are my type. They are my kind of people out there that have also been running away from that call, that have also been trying to shelve the call of God for their lives. And honestly, sometimes you can't blame us, because sometimes when we look at where we're coming from, the kind of people around us, we tend to chicken out, we tend to get scared, because along the line you might get criticized, along the line you might get abused or insulted, along the line people might you might lose some friends, you might gain some new enemies. But life is so short that we can't base our lives on all the negativities, all the negative things, or we can't base our lives on people's opinion about us. So if you're watching this and you feel like there's a call of God upon your life, please dig deeper, pray about it, ask God whatever God is asking you to do. Please go all out and do it. Because trust me, if you don't do it, you might feel like if I don't do it, God will just forget about it. If you don't do it, some of the things that could happen is at that time or at that point where God wanted you to do it, you might raise up somebody else to do it. But at the same time, the fact that God raised somebody else to do it does not mean you're not going to retake that class. So just see it as, if God is calling you to do something and you refuse to do it, you are failing a course. And if you don't pass that course, you are not moving to the next phase or the next level of your life. And you don't want to be stuck in life, because life is short. You want to move on, right? You want to progress, you want to advance. So this is a call to embrace the purpose, embrace the call, embrace your destiny. Like, you can't run away from it. Even if you try to run away from it, you still find yourself back somewhere around it. And God knows how many times you would have wasted. God knows how many times you would have wasted. So right now, I'm done wasting my time. I'm done wasting my life. And I'm just open to embracing the call of God upon my life. Yeah, I don't have a clear picture of the whole thing yet. I don't have a clear picture of how everything should look like, or what everything should look like, or how I should go about some certain things. But one thing God has taught me on my journey is the fact that we gain clarity from doing. If you don't do something, you're not going to gain clarity about it. So when you start doing something, you gain more clarity about it. You know that, okay, this is what would work, this is what would not work, and all of that. So please stop running from God's call upon your life. And in line with that, my announcement is that I wrote a book. Sometime in 2020, when I was going to turn 30 years, I felt God laying it in my heart to write this book titled Evolving. I'm going to display a clearer picture on the screen. God instructed me to write the book, and I wrote it. I finished writing it in 2020, as a matter of fact. But when I finished writing it, I just abandoned it because I felt like, who needs this? Who wants to read from you? Who wants to learn from you? Because honestly, so many times I tell myself I'm not good enough for this thing that God is calling me to. Maybe that is even one of the reasons I've always been running, because many times I tell myself that I'm not good enough for it. I can't speak good English. I don't know how to address the camera enough. I don't know how to organize my thoughts and all of those. I don't know how to plan, and I've told myself so many things about why it's not convenient for me to do what God has called me to do. But like I said, I wrote this book in 2020, and after giving it to my pastor Tolulope Aladesomi, she read it and she was like, Lanike, this is a good book. But you know that many times, regardless of what people say, if you yourself have not convinced yourself of that truth, it's hard for you to embrace whatever people are saying, right? For someone like me, people's validation is not really it for me. Self-validation does it more for me. Like, I feel more comfortable when I believe that, oh yes, I'm capable of this, I can do this, I can handle this. So fast forward, we edited the book, we went back and forth on publishing and all of that, and eventually when the time came for me to relocate from Nigeria, I felt like, oh, I need to really print out this book and publish it and begin to push it. So between 2020 and 2023, I didn't do anything about the book beyond just editing. And in 2023, I eventually decided to publish the book, and that is why we have it here. But after publishing, I didn't do anything about it, because I'm supposed to be the one to push it, market it, and all of that. And I just feel like I'm not good at all of these things. Like, I'm not good at all of these things. And while I came to the realization that I was done running away from God's call over my life, one thing that the Holy Spirit ministered to me was that the kind of life I have built around my business is just a proof of God to show me that whatever it is He has called me to do, He would always back me up, and He would always give me the support and the help that I need for it. So if you're seeing this video right now and me holding this book, just know that this is a new Lanike that you're seeing. This is a new phase of my life that I have decided to embrace. And if you're seeing this right now, just know that I'm ready to tell the world about what God has called me into. So evolving is a little bit of my journey on finance, on health, on my relationship with God, relationship with other people, my expectations. And there are times that I go back to this book and I read it and I'm like, I'm wondering, am I the one that really wrote this book? Because a lot of times when I'm reading it, it feels like it's actually talking to me as well. So if you're seeing this book, Evolving, I want you to check the description, check the link in the description, because I'll be dropping the link to purchase the book in the description for anyone that is interested in reading or anyone that is interested in buying. And if you would like to buy for someone, if you'd like to have the hard copy shipped to someone, you can also reach out to me. My email will be there in the description, and the link to buying the book would also be there in the description. Man, I'm done running. I'm done. Because I can't imagine how many times I've asked myself, what if people don't buy the book? What if people don't enjoy it? What if people don't learn from it? What if it doesn't impact anyone? But then, what if it does? What if it impacts someone? What if people are willing to buy? What if people are willing to read? What if people would learn from my journey? So I'm done. I'm past that era of being full of myself. I think it's time to get over myself, because at some point I was feeling like all of this, my running away from God's calling upon my life, has a little bit of pride in it. Because who am I? Like, who am I for God to call me to do something and I'm saying no? Really, honestly. So this is just a challenge to you. If God has laid something in your heart to write a book, to push out some content, and do some things that you ordinarily wouldn't want to go into, I'm challenging you to embrace God's call for your life. I'm challenging you to do what God has called you to do. Because at the end of the day, it will just be you and God and no man. I think I should read an excerpt of the book, right? Okay, so let me just read an excerpt from the introduction. Okay, so let me read this part of my introduction. It says, during my master's program, I recall my reaction when my peers started to get married and have kids. It was at this point my level of frustration got heightened. Then I started to wonder, why can't I get married too? Why can't I have my own kids as well? It just felt like it was a competition. Obviously, I was running another man's race, and one thing I've learned on the journey to evolving is that truly our times and seasons are in God's hands. But to be able to recognize each season we find ourselves, we have to be rightly connected with God, who ultimately is the controller of times and seasons. Many times, the things we feel we don't have are the things we necessarily do not need, or the things we are not prepared for, which is why we need to be well prepared for each season of our lives. I'm sure many of us can relate to that, right? Dear reader, life indeed is in phases, and we all have one or two things we ought to do at each phase, together with a level of preparedness that will help us succeed at every point of assignment. Yes, we are all learners. I'm still learning, and with the influence of my evolving, I thought to share some of my lessons with you. I hope it will be worth your time and efforts. To your evolving, Lanike. And apart from this book, I started writing another book in 2022, I think. And up until now, I've not completed that book. So I'm sure that this video is going to push me, this particular podcast episode is going to push me to pick back that book, finish it up, and pick up other titles that God has laid in my heart to write about, which you're going to be seeing more of. But this is just a call to purpose. This episode is not just for me. I believe that it's for someone watching this episode right now, or for someone listening to this episode, that you can never run away from God. Forget it. I believe that my story can help someone. I believe that my journey can encourage someone. I believe that my journey can inspire someone. And if God can use my story to inspire someone and encourage someone and help someone, who am I to say no? Because there was a time I was actually talking to one of my mentors, and I was telling her that sometimes I feel like, why do I have to go through all of these things that I go through? The abuse, the loss of my parents, having to wait on God for things that people have on a platter of gold, right? People just have easily. And one thing that she told me that really stood with me was the fact that it's actually in the Bible, but that day it really stood with me more, which is to comfort others with the same comfort that you've received. That's just like a paraphrase. And when she said that, she was like, Lanike, the reason some of us have to go through these things is so that we can help others. And I'm like, why do I have to be the one to help someone? Why does God want to use me to help someone? He shouldn't have even allowed me go through it in the first place, so that I don't have to help someone with it. But the Bible tells us that He would not give us more than what we can handle. And honestly, when I look back at my life, my journey, I still wonder how I could still smile, how I could still try to enjoy life and be a cheerful person, because I know that some people probably wouldn't have gone through half of what I've had to go through, and they lost it. So I know that there's a special grace, there's a special strength made available to me, which has actually helped me to be the woman that I am right now. And yeah, if God wants to use my story to help others, who am I to say no? Because honestly, it has been God that has helped me. God has helped me, and it's okay for Him to want to use my life, my journey, to help others. So this is to us embracing the new life, embracing our call, embracing our purpose, and embracing all that God has called us into. It might not make sense, honestly. As a matter of fact, it would not make sense. Sometimes it would not make sense to you, and many times it would not make sense to others. But really, it's just between you and God. Just you and God. And nothing else matters. Because I remember that there was a time that I was like, okay, maybe I should just do what God is asking me to do. And just one post, and I chickened out. I posted something about my waiting period. That's my waiting period as a waiting mom. I can't remember the post exactly. Maybe I'll display it on the screen if I find it. So I made a post that at the phase of my life that I was in, I expected to have had my own kids and all of that, but I don't have my kids yet. But even at that, I know that my journey is still not over. I know that the story is still being written, and at the appropriate time God was going to do it, which was just to encourage others too as well, that we should wait for God's timing, right? And making that post, some people felt offended about it. Not offended in this real sense of it, like they just felt like this is too personal. How can you share this? Why are you placing yourself? Why are you exposing yourself? They felt like I was exposing myself, and that made me really go back into my cave. But really, it's not worth it, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's just going to be God and myself, and I would have to give account. And I don't want to be stammering when it's time for me to give account. I don't want to be stuttering and saying, God, I actually tried to do it though, but no, I don't want to be giving excuses when it's time to give accounts. I just want to be able to say, yes, you asked me to do it and I did it. And then my Father in heaven will say, dear daughter, you have done so well and I'm so proud of you. And it's all going to be worth it. So thank you for being a part of this episode. I hope it has blessed you. I hope it has ministered to you. And if you found it helpful, you can drop a comment. At least drop a comment to encourage me. Yeah, drop a comment to encourage me. Buy my book. Yeah. It would really make me happy if you buy the book. Beyond the fact that you're going to be blessing my pocket with money, I believe that it's going to bless you or bless someone around you. Because the fact that you buy it doesn't mean it's really for you, but by the time you read it, you might be ministered to on who might actually need the book, that you need to gift the book or buy the book for. So I'll be really encouraged and glad if you buy the book, and we keep journeying together. We keep journeying together because it's a journey of thriving. It's a journey of evolving. It's a journey of becoming all that God has called us to, and we will not fail. We will not miss it, because I believe that strength is made available to us. Wisdom is made available to us. Help is made available to us. So thank you for watching this episode, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. And remember to subscribe, like, and comment. So thank you. My name remains Lanike the Flourishing, and I'll see you on the next episode on Thrive with Lanike. Bye. Love you.